welcome back to the Film Fund podcast. I'm your host, founder, and executive producer at the Film Fund, Thomas Verdi. I'm also an award-winning filmmaker, producer, and film festival judge. I started the Film Fund to give filmmakers an easier, alternative way to get their films funded. Instead of working on a screenplay, crowdfunding campaign, or grant application, you write one sentence pitching your film for a chance to receive up to $10,000 and other prizes to make it. Our summer 2022 narrative and documentary funding contests are now open, so check out the filmfund.co to enter your one-sentence pitch for a chance to receive up to $10,000 and other prizes to make your film. I want to remind listeners that contests do happen regularly, so if you are listening at a later date, check the website at thefilmfund.co for the most up-to-date information. Today we have Mícheál Fleming on the show, a previous winner of the Film Fund. He received a sponsored prize from Maestro Filmworks. They gave him a post-production package to help with, I believe it was color grading. Mícheál, is that right?
Color grading, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, color grading for his short film. And it just premiered actually at, what was the name of that festival in Ireland?
It was the Galway Film Fleadh.
Galway Film Fleadh. Is Fleadh a festival?
Yeah, it's basically an Irish word for festival, yeah.
That's so cool. We're international here at the Film Fund today. Mícheál, thanks so much for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks again, Tom, for having me and for giving us the opportunity. Just I guess a little background on myself. I've kind of started out a little bit in an unorthodox fashion. I was studying biosciences in college and joined the drama society there, and was doing a lot of theater writing and stuff, and that kind of got me into acting and stuff, and writing lots and lots of scripts. And kind of after a couple of years of college, I was kind of like, you know what, I actually prefer doing that creative stuff rather than this pretty strict science stuff. So I studied acting for 2 years, and kind of in that time, I got asked to do some like shorts and stuff and to write some shorts, and that kind of pulled me into the film world then, which was kind of something I'd never been a part of. Kind of where I grew up in Ireland, it was a lot of just Gaelic football and farms, so we weren't exposed a whole lot to the world of filmmaking or theater or writing or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So that kind of really excited me, and so I was doing a lot of writing, a lot of acting, and eventually I was just like, okay, I'm going to write some bits for myself in some shorts, and I ended up doing one and acted in it and directed it, and the acting was great, but I kind of found that I loved more the behind the scenes kind of creative process, and being able to just have, I guess, a bit more creative control, and be able to properly get that vision that I had on the page out there. And I've kind of stopped acting now, and for the last maybe 5 years or so, I've just been solely writing and directing, and a bit of producing as well.
Your career path, so you studied biosciences, worked in the field for a couple of years, and realized you wanted to do something a bit more creative, studied acting, put yourself in got some shorts, and then started writing bits for yourself. That's awesome. It's very, I love this self-starting too aspect of it. It's like, you're just going to start writing parts for yourself. That's just a great way to do it. I know that's why Tarantino became a director initially, because he wanted to be an actor. He just started writing parts for himself. I think he's a better director than actor, as most would agree. But that's so cool.
So hopefully I'm on a similar trajectory to Tarantino.
Yeah, always good to compare yourself to people like that. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm frazzled because I had to tell the air conditioning guys to come back in. But that's so awesome. What would you say some highlights about your work are?
Oh God, everything has highlights. I mean, so the first one we did was like, or the first one I had written and directed was, it was like a 12-minute one take film set in the woods, and Like that was kind of we did the one take for kind of budget reasons, so we could get it all done in one day. But it ended up being like technically very challenging, but also very rewarding. You know, I kind of I guess coming from that theater background as well, I a good bit of experience kind of in real time kind of um, actions and reactions, and kind of having people ready on the side and jumping in, and you know, it was really cool to kind of see that on film. And it was that was something I was very proud of for a long time. It didn't do great at film festivals. The narrative wasn't incredibly strong, but technically it was great. But kind of off the back of that, I got offered a couple of like producer jobs, and it kind of got me more into the world. And then Superhuman, which is the one you guys funded, is my third film. My second one we shot last year, which is about two Antarctic explorers, and they're like caught in are seeking shelter in a cabin, and one of them's like mortally wounded.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was like very rewarding, because we turned some like cabin in like the middle of Ireland into the Antarctic, and like during a heat wave as well. And it was really a lot of fun to do. And yeah, then with Superhuman as well, it's the first film I've shot that has been in more than one location and over a number of days. So that was really rewarding for that, and just to kind of be able to add those strings to my bow, I guess. And you know, each, I guess, I'm sure, as you know, like every project comes with learning curves and learning. You learn something from everything, and you know,
100%.
they've all been great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even my first film I ever did, my first short, um, I didn't go to film school or anything like that, so I just taught myself, and I grabbed some friends from. It was winter break, my freshman year of college, so I just got some friends from home from high school who were in theater, um, and just made a short film. It was terrible, but like you said, I learned so much. Like, I was really bad. Like, no, that film, no one will ever see that. But
Yeah, yeah,
I was ignorant, I guess, and I was excited, and I submitted it to film festivals. Didn't get in anywhere. Thankfully,
yeah.
no, hopefully no one held on to that copy. But you learn so much. So if anyone is out there like listening, I think the lesson here is just you got to make things, because you're going to
Totally.
learn. And it might not your first film likely will not be amazing, but you're going to learn a lot. Like, even like administrative things. I learned how to submit to film festivals and go through that process, which is boring and clerical and annoying. But you know, you learn so
Big
much,
part.
and that's a big
Mm.
part of it for sure. Um, that's would you say there are certain themes you usually gravitate towards in your storytelling?
Um, Themes. I'm not so sure. There's been quite a variety. I think the themes I generally go for are something that kind of takes you out of um, normal life. Let's say. So like
Mm-hmm.
the first one was like set post pandemic, and it was like about a couple of zombies um, who ate vegetables, and there was like some hunters going around and stuff. And then the one set in the Antarctic, it was like I mean, just different from most people's everyday lives, I would say. And it was set in the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
And Superhuman was probably a bit more grounded in that sense, but um, we were, you know, kind of again that world of I don't know how much we can talk about it yet, but uh, that kind of world of the Paralympics and like para athletes and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. You know, it's something that people generally just wouldn't get exposed to a lot. And you know, I guess for me, it's just um, like what would I find interesting, and kind of just following that thread.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And it's a narrative film, correct? Not a documentary.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, it's such a compelling story. Do you want? I know it's been in the pipeline for a while now. We generally leave it up to the winners whether or not we um, read the winning sentences on the podcast, and release them on the website, or we can wait until we release it. I'm going to leave it up to you.
No, totally go for it. I mean, it's had its world premiere and everything, so
Cool,
happy to get it out there.
awesome. Here we go. After being rejected from pro soccer and diagnosed with an eye disease, an African Irish schoolboy is guided towards para athletics and a new identity. Superhuman seeks post production funds. And that is one sentence. They used a semicolon, which is a pro tip for anyone out there. And if you're listening to this, a great way to, well, first off, a great way to just learn how to make your sentences more competitive is to read our blog and listen to our podcasts. And a big thing, we get a ton of entries that are more than one sentence, and unfortunately, it has to be a one sentence entry. So good job there,
Yeah, yeah.
making it one
It's the
sentence
little things. Yeah.
on the semicolon technicality there. But I love this, and we always look for conflict in our pitches and our projects. And there's just so much conflict here. And I like to personally, like as a judge, I like to look for words specifically that kind of evoke that conflict, like rejected. That's a conflict word. Even diagnosed, like there's such strong action words. And then, coping with that new identity. He's diagnosed with something. He has to figure out who he is now and figure out a new life for himself. And he finds para athletics, and there's a conflict there. It's adjusting to this new life and this new path. And there's just so much here. And then obviously the funding use is very straightforward and direct. And it was at the time we had Meister Filmworks sponsoring a post production prize. So since this needed post production funds, it was eligible for that prize. So it was a very good fit for that. So I'd just like to analyze the sentence a little bit. Where did you get inspiration for this project, Mícheál?
I think I'd always kind of for a long time had a bit of a fascination with the Paralympics. It was actually a commercial I saw years ago for the London 2012 Paralympics, and I can't remember who did it. It might have been like Spike Jones or something like that. But it was like just one of the most incredible commercials I'd ever seen. And I generally I don't often say something like that about a commercial, but it really really grabbed me, and it was very I think successful in even only in those like 60 seconds that like immersing me in that world. And kind of from then it always been in my head. And then the most recent Paralympics, which were on this year or 2021, they were due to be on in 2020. They were delayed to 2021, and there was some kind of funding opportunities coming up here in Ireland, and they were looking for stories. And I was just like, well, Paralympics were just on. There's definitely stories to be told there, and that world, and it was something that I would love to do. And it just seemed like the right time and opportunity. And while it was fresh in people's minds, and I think it worked. We did end up getting some financing from a local fund here as well, and it all kind of it all happened for us. And I think people were interested to dive into that world as much as we were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a compelling topic for sure, compelling storyline. Now, just reading the sentence again, it says the schoolboy is African Irish. I'm sure there are certain cultural things that come along with that character. Is there a particular reason you chose to make the character African Irish?
Funny enough, the actor who played him, his name is Aaron Edo, phenomenal actor, and he's we kind of knew a bit about him before we went into the project, and he lives around the corner from me, funnily enough. And
that's hysterical.
Yeah, and he has like a really really similar story, and to the main character, in that he had like kind of pro soccer trials, and he ended up getting like a really bad leg injury, and it kind of took him away from that world as well. And so he was kind of someone that we'd been looking at. He's definitely up and coming in Ireland, and hopefully globally. And I think uh, it's definitely very representative of a modern Ireland, and that was something that we wanted to explore as well, and just kind of um, telling that story, I guess, from our own lens.
Mhm. Very cool. And the status of the project, you just had the world premiere at Galway Film. I'm gonna try to pronounce this flag
Fla, F,
flag.
Fla,
Galway.
like FLAH, I guess. Fla, yeah.
Okay. I was told that's the Irish word for festival, basically. Um, so that just premiered. I think it was last week, I believe.
Yeah, just last week, and it was great. I've had, with that first film I was talking about, that I've like tasted the rejection from that festival and other festivals for that. So
Mhm.
it was really nice to get in. It's an academy qualifying festival, so it's one of the bigger ones here.
That's great.
Yeah, so it was pretty nice to get in and get it up on the big screen in front of contemporaries and that kind of thing. So it's
Yeah,
nice.
and we'll definitely have a blog post about that as well. Just announcing. I mean, we're a little late, but we did a little bit on social media, but we're getting
Yeah, I
closer
saw
to
it. It's
the
great.
calendar. But yeah, we'll definitely do some promotion there because that's just so awesome that like every filmmaker wants their film to play in a festival, and to get that acceptance letter is just so rewarding because I'm always torn with like validation and part of me wants to say like you don't need the establishment to tell you that you're a filmmaker. When you pick up a camera, that makes you a filmmaker, and I do believe that's true. But it does help so much to like have that recognition by an organization. It's like, hey, we actually respect your work and we think this is pretty good, and we're going to show it to all of these people at a festival. It makes you feel good. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking
Totally.
yet, but it's just it's
No,
nice, and it's just super
yeah,
super exciting.
I've definitely been in that space as well. Or I've just been like, what does it even mean anyway? Getting into a festival, but yeah, no, I think even just to get over, and we had like the little lanyards and stuff with your name and your film and stuff, and I think it's exciting for yourself, and it kind of it makes it easier to like just talk to people and to like
Mhm.
make contacts and stuff, and which is obviously such an important part of the business as well. I'm terrible at it, but it's
Yeah, no, I just ordered new business cards for our sister company is FF branded, and it's an ad agency we're getting off the ground using filmmakers who enter the Film Fund contests to produce um, corporate videos for companies. And I just ordered new business cards, and I was just like, I hate networking so much.
yeah,
I signed up for like the Chamber of Commerce in Philly, and well, actually not the Chamber of Commerce just yet, the Center City Business Association, which is like a different organization, but that like the business aspect of the industry is just it's such a drag to me. Like I just want to write scripts all day and be on set. But it's
yeah,
necessary, and I know that's a big part of the the business too. Like you need to learn how to market yourself. You need to learn how to sell yourself. We have some good articles on the blog about that if you want to check that out, like how to market yourself as a filmmaker digitally. But yeah, and then festivals, it makes it so much easier because everyone the filmmakers there anyway, they're excited to be there and they want to learn about other projects and they want to meet other filmmakers and they want to see what's going on. And you said that other previous film you did, you got some producer job offers from doing that film.
yeah. So that was back in. I did that one in like 2016, and yeah, because I guess I kind of I produced it myself. Just I didn't really know anyone at the time in the industry, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna get all the bits together. And there was a couple of my friends and people that I knew were just like, oh, you produced that film. I don't know any producers. uh, yeah, will you help me produce one for me? And Yeah, I did a few for that and a couple of like music videos and stuff. So
Great.
it's paid dividends, even just kind of um, just taking a punt on myself and in my own short, and yeah, highly recommended.
Hmm. And then, do you work full time as a producer now?
No, I actually I still work in the science industry
Oh,
in
you
a
do.
9 to 5. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting line of work, and I do like being in there, and I guess and all of my well, a good chunk of my spare time in the evenings and weekends is all like writing or
Hmm.
sending emails, submitting to film festivals, that kind of a thing, and
Yeah.
it's two very different worlds, but it's kind of it is nice to have that kind of two very different things going on, and
Hmm.
it's like the filmmaking is my respite nearly, because it's nice to come home and be like, okay, it's nice that I can come here and do something that I love again for another few hours.
Yeah. No, that's great. Doing I always ask that question. Do you do filmmaking full time? And sometimes it's yes, sometimes it's no. And I always find the with indie film, you never really know what you're going to get. A lot of people still work day jobs and they're trying to make it happen. And it's just, I feel like it's this show is so interesting, and the film fund has been such an interesting journey, just because I'm finding people generally at the beginning of their careers.
Mm,
So it's like they're still working the 9 to 5s, they're still doing film in their spare time. Um, but you can just see the passion coming through, and it's always it's so rewarding. Like I was the same way. In a way, I'm not really doing filmmaking full time either. I'm running the film fund. That's kind of my 9 to 5. I don't want to be answering. I love you guys, but I don't want to be answering customer emails all day. That's not what I'm passionate about. I want to be on set, writing and directing and producing. But it's so I think working these jobs. I'm lucky enough that mine is film related and that it's my own project. But working even something unrelated like in biosciences, it's going to give you more of a worldview that you can use for your storytelling and for your scripts. I'm not saying like you have to write a film about biosciences, but just interacting with people like outside of the film world, it just gives you a fuller life, I think, and that's always going to help um, in terms of creating and writing stories and producing.
totally. There's a lot of different characters and mannerisms out there in the real world. And totally that you can draw off, and like some of the funniest people I know work in the science industry, and
Mm-hmm.
it's uh it's definitely nice to be able to spread yourself to many different walks of life.
Yeah, and sometimes it can directly influence your film. Like you can't see it. Well, you can see it actually in the corner there. I haven't hung it up yet because I just moved, but it's a Clerks poster.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know if you've seen Clerks with Kevin Smith. So
uh,
he
yeah,
was
years ago, yeah.
the story is he was working in the the quick stop, the convenience store during the day, and then he filmed in the convenience store at night for his film. So that's why the shutters were closed, like the gates to the shop in the storyline. Like, oh,
That's
someone's
right, yeah.
filming the locks, we can't open them. But really, they were filming at night, and that's why they were closed. So in his case, his day job turned out to be his film, which I think is so cool. Um, but yeah, you never know where your story ideas are going to come from. Um, and speaking of your film, you had the world premiere at Galway Film Flat. Did you submit to other festivals as well? Are you waiting to hear back from other places?
Yeah, so the festival submissions, we had always kind of known that we wanted Galway to be our world premiere, because it's fairly high profile here in Ireland, and it's academy qualifying, so it's pretty high standard, and
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, we're going pretty heavy now with the submissions now that the world premiere's done. Got about maybe 15 or 16 other ones currently submitted to.
Mm-hmm.
We Most of those we won't be hearing back from until about early September. So
Okay.
there's a bit of a gap.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's I think festival strategy is very much on our minds, and it's hard to know, like with the likes of like some of the online platforms there. There's just so many festivals, and I think
And they
I
all have
think
different roles too. Like
exactly.
some allow on. That's why we give 1 year after you receive the prize or the funding to post it online, because some festivals still are set in their ways and they don't want online present. They don't want the film to have an online presence before they have their premiere,
Yeah,
because they still care about the premiere status. Which, I'm all for having the films online and sharing them, especially with shorts. But we do, some of them still do care about that. So you have to keep
yeah,
that in mind in terms of like, well, we're not going to release it until it premieres at this festival because they don't want it online. So it can be tricky.
yeah. Lot of rules to read.
Yeah, very boring.
Yeah,
But it's like, I just want to go to the festival and have people watch my project, but got to do the
yeah.
red tape sometimes. Um,
It's
What's
more
your
that the admin
Go
stuff.
ahead. Yeah, the admin stuff
Yeah,
exactly. Who would have known like a creative field would have so many like administrative hoops to jump through? But I guess that's just life. Everything does. So just speaking about filmmaking and your journey, what have been some of the major challenges in the filmmaking process for you?
funding. uh,
Yeah.
like I think I guess for us personally here in Ireland, there was never that many, and thankfully the industry seems to be booming a little bit here, and there are a lot of like local governments and like lot more like bursaries are kind of coming up, and I think people are seeing the value in short films, and you know that it's given people more of an opportunity which wasn't really there before. But even saying that, there's obviously going to be so many people going for that money, and
Yeah.
it's never really knowing what the right things to put are in a submission, or like how to present a treatment, or anything like this, and you're at the whim of the anonymous judge at the end of the email. So that's kind of yeah, just getting money, I would say, to make the films you want to make has been the
Hmm.
biggest thing. Um, there's so much passion that everyone has, but passion will only get you so far if you want to have a top quality film.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like we were talking about earlier, you can go out and just make a film with your friends with really no crew. And like my first couple of shorts, my dad was literally like holding the boom pole for me. But those, you're not gonna usually you're not gonna have the best production value um, when you do that kind of thing. Like it
Yeah,
is changing a little bit. Like Black Magic Pockets, I think it's shooting like 6K now, um, which is crazy. But you're not gonna have. It helps to have a grip and a gaffer and a DP and a professional, sound recordist. And so getting that funding, yeah, it's why we exist, and we are still contest based. So not everyone can win, unfortunately, but we do have the community that you get access to once you submit to the Film Fund, whether you're a winner or not. You join the FF Studios Filmmaker Network, where you can pitch to branded projects that come through FF branded at no additional cost. Little plug there. But yeah, funding's tough. Funding's really tough, and it helps to have it, obviously. Um, so, any creative like challenges in terms of your process or things on set with this film, Superhuman?
and Superhuman. Oh, I mean, I think the original script that we wrote was about 30 pages long. Um,
Oh wow.
yeah, we got it down to like 14 in the end, but
Mm-hmm.
it was that whole thing of kill your darlings and all that, and yeah, I think even in that, it's kind of like knowing or trying to understand what makes a good cohesive story, and for a lot of my scripts, I like the film community you were saying, and like I would have been on like Reddit screenwriting a lot and asking for like feedback and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
even like one or two like paid ones as well, because sometimes you just want people to give you the really harsh truth, and
Mm-hmm.
it's I think it's important to get that sometimes, because they can, like, the likes of like film festival networking and all that, like people are never going to come up to you and be like, your film was terrible. I hated it. You should have changed this.
And
Um,
that's an interesting point too. Like, yeah, we're talking about how awesome film festivals are and how exciting it is, but there's a little bit of sugarcoating, I think, going on too. Like, maybe a film gets in and it's not amazing. You know, maybe it's a local festival or one that doesn't have the the highest what's the word I'm looking for, like, bar. No one's gonna, like you said, no one's gonna come up to you and say that fucking sucked. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
maybe depending on the person, but generally they're gonna be like, "Oh, that was so great! Like, congrats!" So,
yeah,
yeah, I mean that's a really good point. Maybe it's best to seek, if you don't have a close colleague to bounce ideas off of and who's going to give it to you straight. Paid services can be a good option for that. Which one did you
totally.
use? Just curious.
Actually, the one I'm thinking of was the what's it called? Short of the week. Sorry.
Oh, short of the week. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it was.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I sent in my first film for that, and I'd only ever heard like positive things about it.
Mm-hmm.
But they gave like a really nice but detailed response about what didn't work, and
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of such a relief for me, because I was just like, this makes a lot of sense. And because obviously I loved the film, I put a lot into it, and I was like, yeah, it didn't really do very well, like festival
Mm-hmm.
wise or anything. And then, yeah, I guess just reaching out to someone who was just totally impartial, who wasn't standing right in front of me, who had time to look through it, and yeah, it was nice to get an honest appraisal. And I've used scripts wise, I've used uh, Coverfly as well. I think it's
Okay.
Coverfly. Is that what it's called?
I've heard of that one. Yep.
But yeah, they have. So I put Superhuman up there actually as well before we made it, and you can like submit it to like a couple of different competitions and stuff, and they give feedback. And yeah, like, I mean, it's I guess you kind of have to not pick and choose, but kind of try and stay as true to yourself and vision, I guess, as possible, but also understanding that things might be better if they're changed in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's being open to all the broad spectrum of opinions, and that kind of thing was just helpful. I would say, don't, like, to anyone listening, just be open to negative, or not negative, but constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
Can be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I did a creative writing concentration as part of my undergrad, and I had a lot of creative writing courses. And one thing one of my professors took from, I think it's the Iowa Writers, something, Iowa Writers Conference, or school, or whatever program, is a really big, well-known. Ironically, I don't know the exact name of it, but it's a well-known creative writing program in the states, and they do something where everyone in your cohort or class, they read your short story or manuscript, whatever you're working on, and then they just go around the room and they critique it, like, to your face, and you can't defend it. You just have to listen to all these criticisms of your script, like, this isn't working, I didn't understand this, like, you know i don't I don't think this character would have done that, all these things they can pick out, and you can't say like, oh well, I was trying to go for this, or you can't defend it in any way. And at first, when we did that at Lehigh, um, as well, and where I went to school. And at first, it was like, man, I just wanted to jump in and say like, oh well, that's because this happened, or that's because I wanted to do this. But like, not being able to give that defense of it really puts yourself in like the eyes of the audience.
Mm.
Because like with a film, or whatever you're writing, you're not going to be there to say like, oh well, this is what I was going for.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that doesn't, you don't have that freedom there, or that ability. So I think getting impartial feedback from someone who's just going to give it to you straight, and where you can't reply to it and it's not a conversation, I think that's super helpful. I'm kind of wishing I did that with my last script because I just kind of went in overconfident and I was like, oh yeah, my last script did really well. The script will be the same. Um, and we haven't heard back from any festivals yet, but I'm just thinking like, oh, maybe I should have spent more time on the script just to work out those kinks. But we'll see. But that's awesome. I love that advice you gave. Any other? My next question actually is if you have any advice for our community. Aside from that,
Oh,
do you have anything additional?
um, I'm trying to think about what advice I gave myself. Yeah, I think we kind of touched on it. We kind of touched on it a bit earlier. And it was about, like, you said your dad was like holding the boom and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I guess I would say, like, try and make like the best thing you can, and like, God, I actually have some horrible boom stories as well. Um,
Share them. Let us know.
uh, we just one of the shorts that I wrote years and years ago. Um, it was like directed and produced by um, some people I knew, and there was a pretty sizable budget on it. But for some reason, we ended up having the boom guy was just like a friend of someone, and
Mm-hmm.
um, the audio was not good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so like I think that was like a harsh but necessary lesson to learn. I don't know. Maybe your dad was pretty good on the boom often, but I think something that's really stuck with me is how important um, sound is. Obviously it's
Yep.
like a visual medium, but there's like sound is so much a part of um, what's what we are seeing, and I think feel like it's been said a lot online, but people will forgive a lesser quality image, but they won't forgive poor sound.
Yes. Yeah. You definitely have to have good sound for sure. It's one of those things. If it's really, really good and it contributes to the story and like really enhances the film, you can notice it. But I feel like in most cases, sound is something you don't want to. It's kind of like editing. Like, I mean, editing in. So I'm getting into like film theory here from my film studies days, but like sound editing is film editing. It's all theory. And it's like if you don't notice the editing, then I've heard that said too. If you don't notice the editing, then it's good editing. Like you don't want
Mm.
to, or you don't really always want to like notice the sound because if you notice the sound, it's like, oh wow, like why is this? This doesn't sound like everything else sounds.
Yeah,
Sometimes you have the case where like, wow, that sound design was incredible. Like that really enhanced the story. It was beautiful. But like if you're watching, it depends on the genre too. If you're watching like a comedy, you're generally not going to be talking about the sound design of like
yeah,
a rom com.
yeah.
But yeah, so like sound is super important because I feel like it's almost an unconscious thing too. Like when you're watching something, you're just accustomed to everything sounding good, and if you listen to something and the audio is not 100% there, it just kind of pegs it as an amateur production or like a
It's
home
a
movie or something like that. So yeah, sound is super important. So I think that's really good advice too. I did give my dad very very detailed instructions. I read like a bunch of sound like production sound books, and he was probably like, oh man, why did I do this? But I gave him a whole crash course on like point it to like the breastplate, like right below the chin, because if you point it to the mouth, it'll be too like all this stuff. So he did a pretty good job, but yeah, it's that's a good lesson for sure. Like if you have the budget, um, definitely crew up. I would say like things you definitely need on your crew are a DP, a sound recordist. Um, you know, I would always get a PA because you could get an unpaid PA. Call it like an internship or something.
yeah,
Look at your local laws and like don't abuse people, but
yeah,
if it's a
yeah.
super low budget thing and you have people who are really interested in getting on set and like learning what to do and work their way through the industry, get a PA. There are always people who want to help out. Um, our last guest, Claire Downs, her PA, I think was like 18 years old or something like that. Um, and like his or her or their parent like dropped them off at set, and they said it was just like really cool. They had a great experience. So yeah, definitely try to get crew. You know, DP, PA, sound guy or gal or them. Um, I mean, gaffer would always be good to help out the DP. Not
Yeah.
strictly necessary, but if you can afford it, and like honestly, negotiate rates with your crew too. Like, play the indie film card. You know, like this we don't really have a budget for this. We're scraping by. Like, you know, is there anything you can do? Like, if
It's
they'll
probably
step
true as
in
well.
if it's a
Like, yeah.
passion project, yeah, it's true. I mean, like if you have a budget, you know,
Mm.
that kind of gets into ethics, but um, always I would always try to get the best rates you can, especially if you don't have a budget to work with, because and when you find people for your crew, talked about this in a previous episode too, like people who are going to be willing to kind of be flexible with their rates, they're going to likely care about the project too, and that's why they're willing to work with you
Mm.
at a like a discounted rate too, because they really believe in what they're creating. So you know, if you want to pair up with a DP who shares your creative vision, you know they're going to do a way better job than just like a hired gun, who you may even pay full rate to. So I always like having crews who are really invested like creatively in the project and believe in it and like it. Um, so yeah, that's my tangent about crew.
It's no,
Inspired
totally.
by bad boom stories.
That's I was actually talking to someone yesterday who I was giving some advice to just about crewing up and stuff, and it was pretty much exactly what you just said. You know, just you don't realize how quick any bit of a budget you have may go. So you kind of need to be economical about it and
Mm-hmm.
stretch it. You know, people often forget about post as well. You know, right? Got like 5 grand. Sweet, let's shoot this thing on 5 grand. But then you're like, you've got nothing for post or submissions or anything like that. And I think it's just about understanding what you have and making it stretch. And like you're saying, you know, if people are interested in the project and the vision that you're selling, then I would be fairly confident that they'll do it for more affordable rates too.
Yeah, 100%. And just want to echo one thing you just said too. Festival submissions, like I always put. A lot of people will say not to put this in the budget. Like I was talking with a producer, I showed him my budget, and he's like, "Oh, why do you have festival submissions in here?" And I was like, Because this is an indie film, and we need to pay for them."
Yeah,
um, so I always am a big fan of putting festival fees in the budget from the beginning, just so you don't get through post. It's like, oh, we finished it, yeah. And it's like, oh shit, now we have to pay
yeah,
$1,000 to submit to festivals. Where are we going to get that from? So it always helps to put that in there from the
it
beginning,
racks up.
because
Yeah,
yeah, they get expensive.
mm.
And I never know. You know, we've had festival programmers on this show who say, oh yeah, go ahead and ask for fee waivers. But then there's the voice in the back of my head that says like, I don't want to annoy them
Yeah,
or make them like think like, oh, this is the guy who asked for a waiver. Like, I don't know. I, we've had programmers who said ask for waivers all the time. Like, you know, it doesn't hurt you at all, but there's always that little like
niggly
sense
feeling.
of doubt I have. It's like
Mm.
I don't know. I don't want them to think like lesser of my project or something like that. So you know, it's tough. I always try to budget for them when I can. But all right, big promotional question here that I always ask: what are some of your favorite things about the Film Fund?
Oh, well, I mean the simplicity of it. It's it's something I mentioned it before, but like when you're like looking for any kind of funding, you're generally doing like 10, 15, 20 page kind of submission, like a treatment breakdown of what's going on, synopses, everything. And like you're talking about all your experience and stuff. And, you know, it can get draining pretty fast. And, it can kind of take the magic out of it for you at the start. So, to kind of just to have something where it's just like, give us one sentence and we'll fund you. It's just like, whoa. I mean, it's obviously pretty unique and stand out, and it's open to everyone. I feel like there can be a bit of a thing, maybe in small countries like Ireland, where it's like, oh, everyone gets the same funding over and over again, because they're like in the clicks and they're in the know. But like, it just doesn't exist with the film fund, and it's that all it is that one sentence. That's all you got, and it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That's so cool to have something uh, I created be called beautiful. Like, even though it's a website or a business or a fund or whatever you call it, that means a lot. Thank you. That's some of
I don't know.
the best feedback we've gotten. So I'm glad you find it valuable and useful, and I'm so glad we were able to help out with your project. So what's next for you in the next year or so?
Well, we've got two films that are currently on the festival market. So we've got Superhuman and Cree is the name of the other one. And
Okay.
so they've been kind of finish up post production around the same time, and hopefully they'll be doing a bit of traveling now. And at the minute, I'm just writing a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and just there's a couple of different scripts there, and I'll probably go back to the community here, and back to the screenwriting subreddit, and get people to tear my work to shreds, and
Mm-hmm.
see what the next short will be. Nothing concrete right now. I feel like I'm like mildly zapped by the the process of finishing two films at once. So yeah, I'm going to go back to my roots and just start writing a lot.
Cool. And you said the other one was called Cree.
Yeah,
That's on the festival circuit as well.
yeah. It's they're kind of out around. It got into Galway as well, so it
Oh,
was
nice.
nice to.
So
Yeah, it
two
was.
festivals playing at the same, two films playing at the same festival at the same time.
Yeah, which is
Oh, that's so exciting.
it was pretty cool, and it was kind of a bit of a running joke over a couple of days. It was just like, ooh, two films. But as I said, I have been rejected from the festival as well before. So it was.
We made up for it this year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, they're out in the world now, and excited to see how they do.
Very cool. Well, Mia, I want to thank you again for taking the time to speak with us today. What are your social media channels so we can check you out online?
My personal one is at Mickey Flem, MICKYFLEM, and that's on every social media, I would say. I
Okay.
also the film, the small film production company I have is called Swan Dive Productions, all one word. And yeah, that's out there. It's where they put up most of the work that we're doing, and yeah, feel free to follow along.
Cool. Do you go by Mickey?
Uh, some people call me Mickey
Some
or
people.
Mick,
Yeah.
but generally Mícheál.
Okay, cool. I
Hey.
was like, I hope I haven't been calling you the wrong thing this whole
No, no,
time.
no.
Sweet. Well, thanks again. Check out Mícheál on his social media. They just mentioned Mickey Flem, Swan Dive Productions, and check out our latest film funding contests at thefilmfund.co. I want to thank everyone for tuning into the podcast. I want to remind you that the summer narrative and documentary contests are open, so check them out at thefilmfund.co. We have a deadline of August 23rd, 2022. And remember, if you're listening at a later date, we do host contests regularly, about 4 times a year. So check out the website for the most up-to-date info. Check out our social media at the Film Fund on Instagram, facebook.com/filmfundco, Simply Film Fund on. Is it Simply Film Fund? Yeah, simply. I'm terrible today. These guys who knocked at my door, I just keep thinking about that. Simply Film. Yeah, Simply Film Fund on Twitter. Um, and we have a LinkedIn as well, just the Film Fund. And yeah, check out our blog.thefilmfund.co. Great filmmaking and producing tips there. Check out our resources page. Sign up for the newsletter to stay up to date on everything that's happening with the Film Fund. Check out our ebook, The Ultimate Guide to the Pre-Production Process. I want to thank everyone again. We've been releasing these episodes about every other Friday, so check them out wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as the filmfund.co/podcast. Mícheál, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, just go out and make something that you love.
I love that advice. Go out and make something that you love. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.